Good evening. This is the Board of Directors regular meeting. Today's Thursday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom. I'd like to call to order this meeting. Ms. Pineda, can you please call the roll?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'll begin with Director Gould.
Here.
Director Orzali is absent this evening. Director Wood.
Here.
Director Kelly.
Present.
Director Sailors.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
White.
Here.
And President Sheets, turning it back over to you.
Thank you. It's now the Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for cable cast on Metro Cable 14. Replay on Monday, October 26th at 6 p.m. and Tuesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Now the public's opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
I didn't receive any beforehand, but Art, if you could please open it up to our participants.
Yes, working on that. Hello, attendees. You have the ability to unmute yourself if there's anything you'd like to talk about. Looks like no response.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent items. Are there any questions from the board members?
Madam Chair, I make a motion we adopt consent.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Can you please call the roll?
Director Gould.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Sailors.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
And Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to our action items. We have one action item, the Development Impact Fee Report. Ms. Amanda Thomas, our Chief Financial Officer. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Sheets, Directors, Chief Harms. The item before you this evening is a recommendation of approval of a resolution accepting the Development Impact Fee Report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020, and making related findings required by state law. As you know, in the district, development impact fees are collected at the time a building permit is issued, and the purpose of the fee is to ensure that new development in the district pays a proportionate share of capital investments made by the district. The report includes all information legally required to be reported, including a description of the fee, and current fee schedule, amounts collected and expended, interest earned, and beginning and ending account balances for each of the last 5 fiscal years. For fiscal year 2019-20, the district collected development impact fees of approximately $1.5 million and had an ending fund balance of approximately $7 million. Importantly, the district's development impact fee fund did not hold any funds past the 5th year of deposit, which means that additional findings are not required. The report also includes information related to the district's current major CIP project funded with development impact fees, which is the construction of Station 68. And then, although it's not a subject of this report, I did also want to take the opportunity to inform the board that a development impact fees study is currently underway, which would serve as the basis for updating the fee structure to reflect current cost and development data. And we expect that that will be completed sometime in early 2021. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead, Director Gould.
Ms. Thomas, can you tell me if this really wonderful information is posted on our website and easily accessible by those coming into our community interested in developing?
Yes, I believe it is posted on our website. So one of the requirements is that that this report be publicly available. I think we can satisfy that requirement by filing it with the board clerk, which we did, but we also posted it on our website.
Okay, and that study that you mentioned just a moment ago will also be published as well?
Yes. So when the study is completed, it will come forward to the board as the basis for a recommendation for the fee schedule. So once that is completed and accepted, yes, certainly that could be posted on the website as well.
Can we, thank you for that. Can we also make it a matter of practice, either through a policy or just a common practice, that this information is shared with our contract cities?
Yes, this report or the study or both?
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that goes to the issue that we're pretty well known for, and that's the transparency of what we do and how and when we collect and how much and how. I think that just adds to the issue of transparency to put this in the hands of electeds in our contract cities, so they can be, if they choose to be, articulate of how and what we're doing in their cities.
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions or comments from the board members?
I will make a recommendation that we accept her recommendation as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Can you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Director Gould,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Sailors,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
and Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to our presentation items. Our first presentation item is a Certificate of Achievement Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Ms. Thomas, you are back up.
Me again. Okay. Last but not least, so once again, it is my pleasure to report that the Government Finance Officers Association has awarded a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the district for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019. So this was the 6th consecutive year that the district has achieved what is the highest form of recognition for excellence in state and local government financial reporting. In presenting this award, I would like to especially recognize the efforts of the district's controller, Ron Empedrad, who every year takes the lead on producing this really top-notch document, as well as Marie Jones, who is responsible for making the CAFR look the way that it does. Of course, none of this would be possible without the people behind the scenes, both in the finance division and in other divisions throughout the district. And I do want to thank and recognize them for their many efforts as well. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. That's wonderful news. Any questions or comments from any of the other board members? Thank you for the presentation.
President Sheets, I have a question.
Go ahead, Director Gould.
It sounds like this is a document that should go along with the two previously discussed documents to the contract cities. Should put it right on top.
I'd be happy to do that. I will point out that this is a document that is also available on our website.
Right.
And along with many, many other financial reports on our finance division website.
Yeah.
So I would encourage everyone to check that out. But if we would like to forward electronic copies along, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I just think that this is such a powerful piece for the fire service when we can show to the communities of this transparency and that we're being recognized, but somebody that really doesn't have a dog in the fight, so to speak, that it really speaks volumes to everybody at this institution who wants to remain transparent with all of our financial dealings. I mean, ultimately, us politicians, we take an oath, and one of our responsibilities is the fiscal stability of this agency supported by all of you. So I think it's time to blow our own horn to these folks to say, look at what we're doing. I mean, it's pretty significant considering some of the history. If you go back a couple of decades, and many in this room can appreciate that this wasn't so much the impression that the fire service had in our community. and we've come leaps and bounds in a couple of decades. And so I really think this is one of those that needs to be included in those other documents. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you for that. Moving on to the second presentation item, 2020 Strategic Plan Review. Chief Harms.
Good evening, directors. Grant, thank you for your comments. I will have to say that Amanda did not want to put this on the presentation tonight. She wanted it to be just a item under the consent, and I made her put it on there, and she was not happy with me. But thank you for those comments. That I agree with you. These are the things that we have to celebrate and that we bring forward. And Amanda, I can't see you because they brought it up. I know she's probably scouring at me somewhere right now. There she is. Is that I think it's so important that when outside agencies that look at the finances of organizations all across the state, and if you look at a lot of organizations, they get in trouble not because of bad people, but because of financial decisions that were made. And I think it's so huge that this is the 6th year that Metro has been recognized. So thank you for doing that. I'm sure it embarrassed her, and it worked out well for me too. It was one of the few times I had to tell Amanda to do something. So thank you. Tonight, folks, we're going to do a kind of just a brief review of our 2020 strategic plan. I believe this week, Melissa was able to finish up really the plan itself and be able to send it all out to you kind of in a different format that, if you remember, it was about a year ago that we sat down with Tim Duncan and went through, and it was really a spreadsheet. And I think what Melissa, and thank you, Melissa, you did just a great job of taking that information and putting it into a plan that we can put out, as Grant would say, on our website, and to the folks that are out there, that this is where Metro is and this is where Metro is going in the future. For me, it was, when I came, it was a strategic plan that was in place. And I've found that in my career is assuming a plan that you had no ability to put input into was kind of hard to figure out where it was going. And at the time, there was really a complete change of the command staff. So I think we did a good job of taking the direction where it was going and continue it on. But the difference for me is this is really our plan now. This is a plan myself and the command staff and the professional staff have been able to come together to be able to do that. We had originally planned, and it was a good plan in February, that we would take one of these board meetings and do a retreat like we had done in the past and bring us together for an extended period of time. But because of COVID, and even though we really thought it was going to be maybe a shorter period and it's become longer, really tonight what I wanted to do was an overview, and if any of you have any questions along the way. I do think it ended up being a very good thing, because what I realized, and a lot of us as we went through it realized, is that we have been able to accomplish more than expected, even with the COVID impact that was going on. So if you have any questions along the way, either raise your hand or just yell out. If you remember, we had a special meeting on November 9th. Tim Duncan came in. We went through and had a lot of conversation about transparency in the district and deliberately taking a path as we move forward. Overall, we said as a goal, we want to maintain the district's alignment with the mission. And I think we have been able to do that. Oversight of the services that we provide every day, oversight of the fiscal responsibilities, and sustainability as we look into the future of the organization. So those are our key kind of guiding goals, as we remember from Tim as we sat down. All right, let's go to the next slide. In the area, we have about 5 different areas in which are the focuses of the organization. The first one here, I kind of missed one of my notes right here real quick. One of the things I'd like to say is thanks to 522, because 522 came to the table when we actually put it together, and it has been a part of each one of these processes, because so many of them touch the people and the services that we provide over every day. The first one is the members and the people of Metro Fire. There's 4 different areas. It's the culture, professional development, health and well-being of our members, and recruitment and retention as we move forward. The cultural one and the Metro way, if I had to say during this past really 8 or 9 months, the reinforcement has been the district's ability to adapt to the really COVID, the protests that happened, the wildfires that have happened, and really during that period of time, the changes. And I know a lot of you have, this has affected your life, is that in the very beginning, we were learning and adapting and changing operational procedures, expectation, PPE, putting together the emergency operations team. We did less on what we think the Metro way should be, and we did more of acting it out along the way. The next area that was in there was professional development. The PDP series continued. Obviously at the beginning of 2020 was kind of our fall and winter session. We continued and did one more session for the members in person, and then adapted the session, which ended up being wildland response, wildland safety, and we put it into a 4-part video. At that time, if you remember, 2019, as far as a wildland season, had been very small. The investment that we made into that training at the end of the PDP, if you look at this year, the amount of resources, apparatus, and amount of acres burned across the state was just a great investment for us. The second half of November through May of 21, our PDP topics is focusing on Metro Fire's #1 asset, Metro Fire update, chief for the day, special operations, incident alignment, the command philosophy, truck operations, leadership and command, and then wildland. Again, is that the basis of the professional development, if you look at the front end of it, is a lot on leadership, and it covers everybody within the organization, whether you're out on the line or you're part of the professional staff. As we transition into 2021, it becomes very operational. Again, this year it lines up well for us, is that in the spring we will have a battalion chief's exam, and we do expect now to have a captain's chief. So leadership followed by tactics, and then we'll have the exam. So I like the process of that. You're laying out expectations before that somebody has a opportunity to promote within the system. The next one is health and well-being. A lot of things as far as our health, our physicals, those opportunities were shut down over the last period of time. It has been just recently that we've been able to open back up to have our physicals again. Some of the items that are on there are some of our long-term type deals. But one of the things that the district invested in and very early when we got here was our mental health. And during this last period of time, those investments that we have done have really paid off for being able to move forward. We were able to have some meetings this week about what does some of the future of that look like. Some of it is the providers that are out there, vetting providers, and then finding really facilities that for our folks that are struggling, the ability to get those into the facilities that really meet the needs for our folks out there. Another neat thing that is coming out here real soon is that not always we find that some of the information that is shared in a fire station makes it all the way home for the family. And so there'll be, one of our goals within that was a flyer that will be mailed out to all of the members. And then a separate mailing will be done to all of our retirees, which talks about resources, what resources are available, how to access those resources, and then the ability, if we have a friend or a family member that's having struggles, how do we work together to get those? So that again is a great part that was in the plan that we were able to move forward into the next part. The last thing in the member side of it was recruitment and retention. Again, COVID really shut down a lot of recruitment opportunities where we would normally have been out whether it would have been at events, hiring events, schools. One of the early things that we have been talking about now is about Paramedic School. And within our plan, we talked about having a pathway. One of the conversations around the fire service, a lot of it in California, is will we see a dip in the amount of new paramedics that are available out there in the future in 12 months or in 16 months. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Gould for the hats that Director Gould that he wears. He has been a great help to us on some of his thumb that he has on as far as what is happening. But the recruitment side of it, recently Chief Castantini has had some meetings again with folks. As things open back up, is that we're in a position to be able to move forward and re-engage back into the community, into some of the programs that we had started. But unfortunately, we've had to slow down because of COVID during that time. Moving on to the next area is Art. The next one, please, is service delivery. The 4 areas on service delivery is best practices, the administrative coordination, sustainability, and accreditation. Best practices, we focused on EMS, emergency response allocation, and special operations. During this past year, again, a lot of focus was on our EMS response, changing procedures on the guidelines of county health, updates on our PPE, maintaining our supply of PPE, and then giving our members the tools to be able to be successful, whether it's a treatment or questioning or, to a point where we suspect someone had COVID, is setting up the ability that we limited our exposures. Very different than maybe an approach that we had taken in the past where you had one member approach, do some questioning from the exterior, all things that are necessary. Again, good communications out of EMS, the troops in the fields being able to adapt to that. And I think one of the things, again, going back to what we talked about, the Metro way and communications, we truly needed to adapt to our environment, which is a normal training environment where we bring people in, is to reverse that and send it out. And being able to come out with a daily IAP, then we went to a weekly IAP where you had the information, you had one spot to be able to go to it. You could look at it off duty, on duty, became really key. I'm very happy when we talk about best practices is the ability of transitioning away from the emergency operations team, but still being able to do what we're now calling the FDC, or the Fire Department Connection. And every 2 weeks now, we have really a guideline that comes out. The last one, I think, was almost 40 pages. And it's a mix of electronic, video, photos, links. But again, one place, one stop, you can go and find out the information that's happening in the district. I think that one place, one stop is so important because, like all of us, we just get a ton of emails. I know that I was just trying to figure out which email got me to tonight's meeting and going through them and looking for them. With this, you can type in FDC, it takes you directly to it. You can go to the app, you can look at those things, and it brings it up immediately. So good stuff from the group down there, good stuff from the training side of it. We continue to work, even with the pandemic, with our COVID response units. We do have funding from the county to carry us through the end of the year. Those units are up, and I just got a text just by 20 minutes ago from Dr. Mackey of the good work that they're doing. And then the other expansion is the MIH. For some of us, since I got here, and some of you board directors, that has been a long process. We are in still the side of developing the RFP, or the RFP is out for the provider, and we will continue in 2021. Will be exciting, but falls directly in place with our EMS and with our service delivery. Special operations, 12 programs. Everything that from the ARF program and the ARF training that happens out at McClellan to the CERT program. The investment in CERT once again showed off in COVID, where they spent multiple weeks over at Cal Expo manning really the traffic and the movement of people in and out of there. And our CERT people did just an outstanding job for being able to stand up and be able to do that. Through some grants, we're going to be able to get them some golf carts and expand their footprint for a lot of things that they do every single day. The last one that I'll just highlight on there is just the water rescue program. The ability to maintain certifications in our boats on the river, the safety portions that go along with water, moving water. And then I think we all saw it this year is each year is just how busy it gets for about 3 or 4 months out on the river. And our folks, you know, on the weekends are definitely one of the key factors that are out there, helping people have a safe, enjoyable day that is out there. The next area on the administrative coordination, if you remember, it was about fire dispatch and some of the challenges that we've been having at fire dispatch. As an organization, our ability to have Chief Wagaman over there truly has made a difference in being able to format and give direction for the future of the dispatch center. My time here, and we've been doing the Chiefs forums, and one of the things that I've said in there is that as an organization, anything that we've put our mind to, we have been able to be successful in being able to move those things forward. But one of the places that I felt was very challenging was dispatch. It's unique where it's a JPA with 4 different agencies, but as the dispatch manager not being directly connected to the fire service, it was difficult to make change happen. Tyler has done an outstanding job. I'll talk about some promotions here soon, but Ty Bailey will be taking his spot here in about a month. They've started their transition over there already. But some very, very simple things. The attrition rate for the recruits over there was running at about 90%. And the hiring process, and again, what we saw was just a vacuum of people leaving. They've had, I believe it's 2 classes with a 3rd class here to start soon. The attrition rate is down to 30% now. The academy was 2 weeks. We know that that investment on the front end of people really is what gets them through that. And now they're investing almost 10 weeks in them, getting them ready to be a dispatcher, getting them to the floor, letting them answer calls, and then transitioning them into a radio. A lot of technology going on, an upgrade of the CAD system, things that have been kind of on tap for a while. But through the strategic plan, our ability to continue, the fire chiefs in the region are all supportive of maintaining that command presence. We still have the lead dispatchers. We still have the supervisors that are over there that are working the day in and day out. But I'm really seeing an opportunity that is changing dispatch and changing it for service delivery. If you really think about it, dispatch is that connection for the public to us. We do a lot of things, but the 2 questions we ask is, where are you and what's your need? And then everything behind it fills in to be able to put that response together and put it to moving forward. This year with all of the different things, there's a lot of great programs. But I think as an organization, the movement that we have made there is key for us down the road. The last thing that was in there that I'll talk about is sustainability. Jeff Fry, along with operations, have really started looking at what is our standards of coverage. As we see growth, and as I look out my window here to the south, the amount of new houses that are coming, what are those things for the future? What is our standards of cover? We have a older standards of coverage document, the ability to use our DECN along with what's called ATOM allows us to look at where our vehicles are at, what is the coverage of them, and then as we grow as a district, what will that look like and how do we provide coverage for it? Accreditation was a level 3 or a C. And so we have not done anything with accreditation. Any questions so far? All right. Art, let's move on to the next one. Capital assets, real property, vehicles and apparatus, professional equipment. With this one here, again, Amanda, Jeff Fry and his group, along with the individual managers, have really taken an opportunity to sit down and have really a comprehensive look at each one of these, and then how do we pull them all together? I think on one of the things we identified very early, and with you all, we sat down and we said, where is our fleet at? And what things do we need to do to make sure that we maintain our fleet? There was a large purchases of fire engines at one point in time, and we wanted to be able to spread those out. Again, through the budget process, we have done a good job of being able to do that with the support of the board. Looking at our property, really looking at some of the property maybe that we lease out, and is it feasible we keep that? Do we get rid of that property? What are some of those things that we do? Again, Jeff is looking at those things, and then just looking at professional equipment. The ability to look at those, what is our 5-year plan? What is our financial plan? The ability to say, if we make a deviation, and I think it's fine, but if we make a deviation, we are all on the same page for where we need to be at for coming forward. One of the things that as we've gone through here, and it falls under that real property, is Station 29, or no, Station 68, and the new construction of 68. So that has taken a lot of that time during this period, but we will continue forward with the capital asset. Next one is the financial management. Art, let's go to the next one there. New revenue, current revenue, maintenance, future projections are the 3 key areas that we're in here. I know a lot of you listened in today to the finance committee. We went through and Amanda gave us our first 2 months overview, where we were at and moving forward. But I thought that the presentation on our evaluation with CalPERS is really key as we look at our future. And again, I think that as a budget and we're buying fire apparatus or buying stations, it's very easy for us to manage those things. And if expenses are higher, we cut back on them. But truly one of our challenges, and it continues to be one of those as we look at the current revenue maintenance, is the cost that we have as pensions, the cost that we have as insurance, and the cost that we have as for liability insurance. We'll continue to bring those options to the district, to the board. One of the things that we look at is that 5-year plan. I know with Amanda, as we get out towards 4 and 5 years, sometimes those numbers are a little bit hard to predict. But since being here 4 years now, it really has given us a basis to be able to make decisions on what we expect down the road. The other wild card that always in there is what happens with the COVID, what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen with the election, just a number of wild cards that are happening right now. Looking at new revenue opportunities, part of that in there was what our consolidation, is there some opportunities? Again, Jeff Fry has been working and has gave you, I think it was 2 board reports ago, at least the rough draft of the plan for Natomas. Since that time, that plan is, I would say, probably about 95% completed. We recently had a meeting with some of our consultants for putting together a strategy for what those next steps are for being able to move forward. So that continues on. Analysis of new revenue opportunities. We looking, as Amanda said, we are doing an impact fee study right now. It has been a number of years, and the ability to go and look at that, much like we did ambulance revenue a few years ago, and being able to come back. The part that I really liked about what you all did with the ambulance revenue was that there was automatic benchmarks that were built into it. With the ambulance revenue, it had been a long period of time, and then when we made a change, it was a large spike. Much like the impact fees, it's been a while since they've been looked at. We have just a large amount of growth that's happening right now. So the ability to look at that and put it out over a period of time. Community facility districts or Mello-Roos, Jeff has worked very closely when we look at the Jackson Highway corridor, and we have come to some agreements for future coverage of revenue out in those areas. Fee assessments and charges, grants that have come to the district are all different areas that we continue to look at. Our group has been just very successful with grants and being able to look at those grants for being able to move in the future. All right, let's move on to the next one. Probably the last one. Let me just move back one. The last one that we will do in the revenue and maintaining revenue, and is just getting kind of off the blocks now, is the fee study of community risk reduction and looking at our inspections, the cost that we have there. Again, we have not done that for a while, so we'll do that again in the future then. External engagement. Three main areas was our partners, our communications and marketing, and our community outreach. Metro has always had a good foundation, and looking at our partners that are out there, our ability with our PIO along with our community services group has just done a great job of being able to put Metro into the front side of the news. Partnerships with everybody from the Kings to the local electric companies to a number of our businesses that are around. I will say that Captain Vestal has had some challenges lately, as he has stories or opportunities, and the news media at this point in time, there's so much other activity that is going on, but he will continue on and maintain that visibility, maintain that awareness of Metro Fire that is out there. One of the areas when you talk about communications and marketing and the community is a lot of the things that we do on the government affairs and the advocacy side of it. We do our annual trip to DC for Cap to Cap. We're involved in the chamber. We have our 2x2s with the county, Citrus Heights, Rancho Cordova, a lot of activity and relationships. And I think you wonder sometimes, is the investment that we're doing and the communications that we're doing, is there a payoff for those on the other end of it? If you remember in August when we had our demand letter from the county, our ability to reach out to those elected folks, to reach out to those people that have supported us, across the board, what we got was positive responses. And I think the best one is that people said, we like Metro Fire, we don't want to change, we don't want someone else providing the ambulance business. What do we need to do to help you? We will continue those things, we'll continue those relationships that we have, we'll continue that involvement and that engagement that we have out there. The last one on there is that community outreach, the K through 12 programs. Obviously with the schools and some of the challenges right now that is having with distance learning, some of the challenges that is having with the getting back into the schools. The group in community services has really done a great job of taking different programs, whether it's fire safety, or some of the other programs that we have talked about, Milo and Moxie that we have brought to you before, and being able to make it really web-based and virtual for the ability to deliver that. They've done a good job of picking up on the NFPA Fire Safety Week or Fire Prevention Week, and being able to put out information, literature, connecting with some of the schools. It's just challenging, as I think some of the time people are just trying to survive the day without adding extra. So we're just trying to be able to find that place, find where we fit along the way. As I said, I'm very happy with the plan that we have. As we sat down and truly I have it on my desk and we go through and we look at those things. I feel that we've been able to accomplish some of our goals. There's still a lot of things still that we want to do, a lot of things that are still in the plan that is available for us to be able to move forward, but I really think we've made good progress. I really want to thank Melissa also. Melissa took really what we'd all scratched out on a piece of paper, some of the other things, and put it together just in a really class delivery for Metro as we would expect. That ends my report unless you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the board members?
Madam Chair, this is Gay. Chief, thank you so much for doing this overview. It's very, very important to do it time to time. And I appreciate the investment that everyone has made in developing that plan. And it was nice to hear about the improvement with the retention at the comm center. Thanks.
Any other comments?
Director Sheets, I just wanted to make mention to the chief that I thought his report was, or his presentation was great. Glad to see that we are doing something with strategic plan in this COVID era that we're living in right now. And that's all I had for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments for the chief or questions? All right, no action is required. Thank you for that presentation. We'll move on to President's report. I do not have anything to report. However, I would like to take a moment of silence before we go into closed session for the San Francisco firefighter paramedic Jason Cortez, who died in a training accident last week. So before we move into closed session, we will observe a moment of silence. Moving on to the fire chief's report, Chief Harms.
This has been a busy night of talking. Thank you all. Just some appointments. As we said, we had some change that's happening. I'm proud to announce Charlie Jenkins is going to be promoted to Assistant Chief. He'll be the C shift commander. He'll start that job on November 1st. And as I mentioned, Ty Bailey is being promoted from Battalion Chief to Assistant Chief. And he'll be assigned to the dispatch center as the Chief Executive Director. And that is scheduled, the promotion is scheduled for December 16th. We just know that we don't want to lose any of the, really the wave that we are on, the positive wave that we are on. There's a number of negotiations, personnel, just a number of things that are happening. So he is actually already, Ty is actually already engaged over there. I really think his background and his time on the fire side of it, being a wildland, being here, being a battalion chief, but also his time as a union, as a steward, as the vice president, as the president of 522 is going to be just a great portion and a great addition to the team. So congratulations to both of those guys. We have, with Charlie's promotion, we'll have an opportunity for someone to come to days for the Battalion Chief of Special Operations. We really have found that that opportunity really assists people in really broadening them, to learn budget, to learn about program management, working with other people. There's just so many things. Charlie came in there, did a phenomenal job, and then came in and was able to apply those things to his next promotion. So I really look forward to filling those up coming up. Over the past week, we've done the fire chief forms. We have 8 sessions scheduled. We have 2 more for tomorrow, and then we're done. We've had some just great questions, interactions with folks, a lot of feedback on very positive. Once we're done with them, we're recording 2 of them. So we'll post those online. So if somebody wants to go and watch those, if they miss them, they'll be able to do that. Plus, I had reached out to about 20 folks and took questions on what's being talked about at the kitchen table. There was just no way to get through all that information. And so we're going to send out that information also. We had a badge pinning on the 13th. We have 13 new SRPs, 8 paramedics and 5 EMTs. And I believe probably 3 or 4 of the EMTs will be paramedics real soon. On the 15th, we had a meeting of the Sac County Fire Chiefs. Yesterday, we had a meeting with the battalion chiefs, all 3 shifts. It was just a great opportunity to bring everybody together. We did social distancing and masks, but the ability to get back in a room and just talk some of the tactical considerations that are going out there, some challenges that we've been having maybe with staffing or people, and then really what is all the good stuff that's happening out there. So that was a really good meeting that happened. I also attended the Homeland Security, the State Homeland Security Advisory Committee. It was pretty much depressing, but it is a meeting that I am responsible to be to. The last thing or 2 last things here is just, again, a great job by all the people over in finance and all the members of the district being able to receive the annual comprehensive annual financial report award for the 6th time. It really is a great honor. And then the last thing is thank you to the committee for sitting down with my review. Thank you for the positive comments, the reinforcement, and also thank to all of you that reached out to me on the same thing of support of where we are as a district. Your support of me really means a lot, and thank you for that communication. That ends my report, unless somebody has a question.
Chief, any questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the operations report. Assistant Chief Mitchell.
Thank you, President Sheets. Good evening, directors and Chief Harms and all. Thank you for having me tonight. I'd first like to start off by showing talking about my appreciation to Chief Bridge. We're currently in a transition period right now. He's actually out there in the audience. He said he's not really good at goodbyes, but maybe he'll jump in here at some point and say something. So I just want to say thank you to him and congratulations. He's been the operations chief since January of 16, I believe, so almost 5 years, and he's done a lot of great things. I'm honored and humbled to have been given the opportunity to move into my new role as Deputy Chief of Operations on November 1st, and I look forward to working with you all and continuing with the good work that's been going on into the future. So we'll go through the report here on what I have for you. Since we've met on October 8th, we've run 3,937 calls, or about 281 calls per day, which is fairly normal. And of those, we're running about 139 transports per day with the ambulances, which is also pretty normal. So we're tracking right along there. Chief Harms mentioned our CCRU units from County Public Health. I got an email today from Captain Scott Perryman. Happy to report, as Chief Harms mentioned, that they've been very busy. Since going into service, our first one went in on September 23rd. They've done over 1,100 tests. That's CC 109, and then 102 went into service on the 5th of October. They're up to 582 tests so far. So they've been really busy. Fortunately, in the region, we've also had a couple of our partners add in a few units. Cosumnes to our south has added the CC 71, and then Folsom Fire this week just came on board with CC 35. There's a large demand at the community, the board and care facilities and congregate living for those. And so they're very busy, as Chief Harms mentioned. We'll look for more from County Health on those in the future. Deployments. Fortunately, I'm happy to report that all of our members that have been deployed are currently home. All of our engines and single resource overhead for Metro Fire are back safely, but we still are within high fire season right now. I'm looking at my weather report here coming up. We're still in a red flag today through tomorrow, and then next week is looking to be more of the same. So we are ready with our equipment and folks to assist in our local community as well as anywhere in the state as needed with our contractual agreements. And until we get those wedding rains, we're still going to be into that fire season. It's normal. I know a year ago tomorrow, actually, Chief Harms mentioned the fire season last year. The Kincaid fire, which was the largest, started a year ago tomorrow. So as we get into late fall, we tend to start forgetting about that, but we are still in the middle of it. Regionally, this year, as busy as it's been, historic fire season. We've had a fire up in the north there in Mendocino of over 1 million acres, as you're probably well aware of. We have sent out within the county, not just Metro Fire, 182 single resources and a total of 18 strike teams of engines, both Type 3 and Type 1 engines. And so it has been an amazingly busy year. I would like to take an opportunity at this point to really reach out and say thank you to the members of Local 522 who have done an astounding job to ensure that our stations here at home have been staffed to maintain that level of service delivery. That's been a really, really large component of us being able to help out in this just amazingly busy fire season. So thank you to them. Let's see what else. So a couple of highlights for some incidents. Last night, A-Shift had a call in the evening out on the river. We got a phone call or a call for service from our partners at County Parks for a missing individual. When our units arrived, we were able to mobilize. We did a risk assessment, and fortunately, because of the resources that we have available and our relationships we have within the county that I know Chief Harms had mentioned as well, we were able to bring back a crew and have our helicopter assist, as well as our UAV program. We had a boat on the water. We also had shore-based search going on. We had a person who was reported, an older gentleman, along the river. His son was fishing with him. They couldn't find him. So it was a testament to the level of professionalism and the ability for us to provide the service due to the tools in our toolbox, if you will. And so they were able to get out there last night. In addition, we had some requests out to Sacramento Sheriff's Department, who supplied Star Helicopter, and as well as our Placer County partners. The Placer County Sheriff was able to respond and assist as well. Unfortunately, as the night grew longer and it got later and later, understanding the time frame that had passed, the search was called off. But based off of our relationships, again, we had a plan put together, and they were able to get back out there this morning early. And it's not the best outcome as far as what we had hoped for. Unfortunately, it did locate the gentleman who had passed away. But because of our ability to be out there, we were able to bring some closure to the family by finding their loved one. And so really a testament to the professionalism of our folks and our ability to leverage our relationships and really come together to do the best we could and give that individual the best opportunity because of where we're at. And so, and then finally, speaking with Chief Law today, she sent me some information. Over the last quarter, we were notified today that we had 3 CPR calls that resulted in people walking out of the hospital. And I think that's a really positive thing to remember, that the highly trained members that we have out there in the field are doing a phenomenal job. We don't always get those reports back. We are reaching out to those crews to give them our thanks. But again, because of where we're at and the level of service we're able to provide, there are those 3 individuals out there today who under different circumstances might not have made it. So again, a thank you to our members. They're doing a phenomenal job out there. That ends my report, unless Chief Bridge jumps in there. I decided to say goodbye or something, but I appreciate your time tonight. I look forward to working with you all more in the future, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chief Mitchell. Any questions or comments from the board members? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to Sac Metro Firefighters Local 522 report. Is Mr. McGoldrick on the line? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Committee and delegate reports. The executive committee, we have not met for some time, and we do not have a meeting scheduled. Moving on to the Communication Center, JPA. Chief Shannon is not in attendance this evening and had no report. Looks like they met on October 13th, and the next meeting is November 10th. Also, the California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA.
Can we hold on 1 second?
Sure.
Mike has run into my office for the 522 report.
My device didn't get activated for my report, so.
No problem.
I apologize.
Sure, go ahead. The floor is yours.
So, good evening, President Sheets and directors. I just wanted to say it was my honor this week to go down and represent Metro Fire along with Captain Dave Baer and Engineer Kevin Summers for the memorial service for the San Francisco firefighter. It was an awkward situation because of COVID, but they did the best they could. It actually turned out really nice. So I appreciate you asking for a moment of silence. So that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Where did we leave off? Looks like California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA, Chief is not in attendance. Looks like they do not have a meeting scheduled. Moving on to the Finance and Audit Committee, Director Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finance and Audit Committee met tonight. We heard two presentations from CFO Amanda Thomas. The first one was the update on our financial report out for the first 2 months of this fiscal year. And just in short, we are trending slightly below budget on our revenues, and we are slightly exceeding on our expenses. We'll take a look at that again and talk about whether or not any adjustments need to be made mid-year. There are no meetings in November or December, unless something does come up and we get called. Otherwise, we probably will not be back together until January.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the Policy Committee, Director Gould.
No report.
All right, we'll move on to board members' questions and comments, and we will start with Director White.
Well, thank you, President Sheets. First, I just want to congratulate both Chief Charlie Jenkins and Ty Bailey on their promotions to Assistant Chief. I know they'll do well in those roles, and they've worked hard to get there. Additionally, I want to commend Amanda and her team for the CAFR Recognition Award this year. Even though it's become somewhat routine for them, it's still very impressive that, you know, annually we have a comprehensive annual financial report to that standard. So I appreciate that. Also, I was impressed to hear about the 3 CPR saves, and I had a question for Operations Chief Mitchell, if he's available, or Bridge, whichever one wants to respond. But I'm under the assumption that these were 3 people who were discharged from the hospital with neurological faculties, and that we received that feedback or follow-up information through the CARES registry. Do we know if that's accurate?
Yeah, Director White, yeah. So the information I have is that we received word directly from the hospital that they were, and I'm not exactly sure from Chief Law, I can check into that, but yeah, they were in neurological function intact, walked out under their own power from the hospital.
Well, outstanding. I'm very happy for them and their families, and I think that's just some outstanding work by the members of Metro Fire. So with that, I just also want to add, I appreciate the presentation on the strategic plan, and I'd like to see the district's focus on not only continuing to build, but maintain the relationships we have. So thank you.
All right, moving on to Director Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, ditto to everything Director White said. Thank you for taking care of a lot of very, very positive comments. The second one is just to let the board know that I was reelected to the Cal LAFCO Board of Directors. That's the state association for LAFCOs. So I will be able to continue to represent Metro Fire and special districts at that state association level. So I was fairly happy about that. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge, but we'll trudge on. The third and final item is I wanted to say thank you to Director Gould, because you're cheerleading about the fiscal reports, and to make sure that that is communicated to all of our contract cities as well as on the website. Great move, great idea. Thanks again for being such a good cheerleader for Metro Fire. Madam President.
Thank you. Moving on to Director Clark.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I don't have much to add to what my previous board members have said, except I just want to congratulate our CFO again for another year of the Financial Excellence Award. Want to congratulate Ty Bailey and Mr. Jenkins for their promotions. Chief, that was an excellent report on the strategic plan, and we're moving forward as usual. That's all I have to add, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Director Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just echo everything everyone's already said, including best wishes and congratulations to Chief Bridge on your retirement. We will miss you. You will be missed. And to now Chief Mitchell and Chief Jenkins as well on their promotions. Look forward to working with them. And lastly, I think I just want to make sure it's been kind of a hell of a year this year, and now that it's almost over, I think it's just time to make sure everyone knows from the front lines to the office how much everyone in this community appreciates all the work they've done and everything they've given this year to make sure that our people stay safe. And so thank you.
Thank you. Director Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just dittos to everything that's been said. I look forward to the moment of silence to honor the firefighter who passed away. Obviously, that's a big deal. And then tonight, before we started the meeting, I had this thought that, you know, there's a lot of men and women in our world have sacrificed ultimately to have an opportunity for us to pledge to the flag. And so I just propose to this group that we start all subsequent meetings by standing and pledging allegiance to that flag. I miss that dearly. I think it does nothing but honor those men and women who aren't home today because of their ultimate sacrifice. And so I would just hope that we could figure out that we can do that and that it doesn't violate some code of conduct, but that we can once again show our allegiance to this wonderful country despite its challenges. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you for the recommendation too. Director Sailors.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Everyone has spoken so eloquently, and I'm right there with Director Gould with the Pledge of Allegiance. I stand by him. Thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. And Director Kelly.
Yes, I just wanted to, again, the certificate of award for the financial reporting. Having been the chair of the finance committee for a couple of years, I wanted no one to be under the impression that I had anything to do with that. It's that staff, and all we could do was encourage them and empower them to do the wonderful work they did. Again, congratulations to the accounting division. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to send my condolences to the Cortez family and honor Mr. Jason Cortez in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll move into closed session.